Great crowd tonight. Well, good evening. My name is John Heubusch, and I have the I've got the real honor of being the executive director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation, and it's my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here this evening. If you would, in honor of our men and women in uniform who defend our freedom around the world and protect us here at home, if you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Before we get started tonight, there's a few special guests that we have with us that I'd like to point out. And the first is Elena Musa, the wife of Greg Gutfeld. Elena, welcome. And we also have with us Leslie Gutfeld, Greg's sister and family. Leslie. And we are honored to have with us Kevin Sorbo, the man who took my part in Hercules. Kevin. Well, first, before I get into my mercifully short introduction of our special guest, I want to apologize for the quality of my voice and the tone that you heard. I seem to have lost about a half of it in the last few weeks, but one thing I know I did not lose was my mind, as one would have to be crazy to miss this event tonight. So like you, I just had to be here. Thank you for coming. Now, Greg has chosen the Reagan Library to be the launch point for his national Not Cool book tour, which makes this a special night for him and for everyone lucky enough to be here for this sold-out event. Because all of you are such dedicated fans of Greg and his shows where he appears on Fox's The Five and Red Eye, we have a very special surprise for all of you tonight. Following tonight's event, all of you are invited, all expenses paid. I always like hearing that part, to actually join Greg on his bus tour. After leaving the Reagan Library tonight, you will be hitting 32 cities in 9 states, including Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee, and the great state of Texas. Now, the buses are going to be leaving promptly from... Well, here's something not so cool. I just received word that there's been a change of plans and none of you are invited on the actual tour. I'm sorry about that. But you are, however, definitely invited to Greg's signing of Not Cool following his remarks tonight. I hope to see every one of you there. The last time Greg was here, he was promoting his best-selling book, The Joy of Hate, which debuted at number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list. I heard this afternoon before we came in that I believe this book is debuted at number 7 as well, which means I'm certain it's going to climb. So this new book will do just as well. Congratulations, Greg. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in welcoming one of the most talented TV personalities and authors of our day, Mr. Greg Gutfeld.
Thanks, buddy. I noticed when I came in here, I got a standing ovation, but it seems like that when you're short. Everything's a standing O. Good to see Kevin Sorbo here with his shirt on. He was Hercules, but that was a long time ago. We don't need to keep seeing that stuff. Frankly, it's disgusting that you would walk around shirtless, just going shopping. We get it, you were Hercules. Get over it. It was years ago. Anyway, last year I did this and I'm going to do it again because frankly, you got to get the questions about the 5 out of the way because in the signing, that's all people do is ask me about the 5 and frankly, it's about the 1, which is me. It's not about the 5. Yes. Yes. There's not 5 people on this cover, it's me. Anyway, actually, is this a great cover or what? My head floating in space. It's like a conservative acid trip. It is like it's like the undiscovered planet. Nothing but unicorns and naked unicorns. All right, questions about the 5. The obvious one, there's a book on my foot. Does Bob really believe everything that he says? Yes. Luckily, no one else does. Except Che Guevara, but he's dead. Bob is awesome. He's like the guy, if you live in a small town, he's like the guy in a hardware store that's always there. And you're trying to buy a hammer, and he'll just start talking about hammers. And you go, yeah. He goes, you need any help with the hammer? And you're like, I'm okay. And then you realize he doesn't work there. Just likes to hang out and talk about hammers. Common question, is Bob dating anyone? Depends on how you mean dating and anyone. If dating means paying $500 an hour and anyone means to Eastern Bloc strangers for sex, then yes, he is dating. But you gotta love Bob, especially when it's on his dime. So, Dana Perino, I don't know if you know this, she has a dog. I used to tell people it was Dick Morris in her fur coat, but Dick Morris's people threatened me with another newsletter. You get those. So the question is, do I really dislike Jasper? It's not that I dislike Jasper. It's just that I'd like him more if he had an apple in his mouth. Rotating. No, playing with an apple. What did you guys think I was talking about? That's just disgusting. You'd think I would eat a dog. Cat, maybe. Is Dana really that nice in person, or is it just an act? Let me put it this way. She's not one for nonsense. This is totally serious. I once saw her tell an actual baby to grow up. She is right. They are babies. Get a life. Stupid. Anyway, this is my second time at the Reagan Library. It's also the second time that I've been at a library. With my pants on. It's the problem with libraries these days. They aren't the way they used to be. They are centers for pervs. One step below Bob's apartment. It is great to be here. I've said this before. Ronald Reagan, to me, is the greatest president that we've ever had in modern times. Thank you for applauding me for saying that. Just want to point out you're applauding me, not the President Reagan. My niece is here. Her name is Reagan. Why are you clapping? She was named after the character from The Exorcist. But no, she was named after Ronald Reagan, which has made her a lot of friends in school. Last year, the speech, I talked about the things that I have in common with President Reagan, the late President Reagan, and I'm going to do that again now. As an actor, Ronald Reagan appeared in 53 films. As an actor, I appeared in 17, but you can only see mine in Mexico if you know the secret knock at a bar in Tijuana. In his second term, Ronald Reagan ended communism by daring Gorbachev to tear down the wall. Similarly, I once threw up on caviar. There is a link there. During his presidency, he championed trickle-down economics. Trickle-down happened to be my stage name in the films I did in Mexico. I don't know why you think that's funny. It's a disgusting joke. Ronald Reagan once was made famous starring in films where he shared the set with a chimp. I once shared an agent with Piers Morgan. The chimp had a longer career and, frankly, better breath. Boy, I think I'm going to skip these next ones because this is the library. No. Ronald Reagan supported anti-communist insurgencies all over the world. I once drew a penis in the Epcot Center bathroom. He championed peace through strength. I can do 8 pull-ups. Finally, Ronald Reagan restored American optimism, a renewed belief in our country's exceptionalism, and reminded the world that we rule. And boy, do we need that now. Again, I would like to point out the applause there is for me and not for President Reagan. It's important. We keep that straight. Water. Last time I was here, I put the water there, and everybody was upset. So I'm putting it down here. I'm doing the Marco Rubio. You know, if a liberal had done that, no one would have done anything, but he's conservative. He goes to get a glass of water. Suddenly, it's like he took a hit of acid in church. So this book came about from one simple question. Why do we do dumb things? Why do I do dumb things? To be liked. That's why we do dumb things. When I was younger, I tried to belong. In the 1970s, I tried disco. In the late 70s, I went into punk. In 1980, I married Jim Nabors. 1981, we divorced. We grew apart, but we're friends. The moment I rejected the desire for acceptance, my life got a lot better. The moment I stopped caring about what other people thought, my life suddenly became kind of like, I don't know, I started making sense of the world. Or it could have been puberty. I don't know. It was only 10 years ago. The desire to be liked makes us vulnerable to the hipster elite. The hipster elite are born from the academic mindset that believes everything that comes before, like successful traditions, suck. Nothing is good until they got there. However, they have no alternative for it. It's a mindset that permeates all society, and it allows them to wage war on all things that work. The cool is basically a Trojan horse by which the media academic complex infects us with radical subversion. It's not a joke. Thank you. Hold your applause till the end, because this could go on for days. Cool is a path to subversion because it lacks value. Cool trumps good and evil because it's relative. There is no value to it. Therefore, you can persuade people to do bad things simply by the virtue of its coolness. And we're guilty of actually being sucked into this because we find things that are exciting and interesting to be fun. The Rolling Stones became famous when they wrote the song Let's Spend the Night Together. It wasn't let's go get lunch at a cafe together. We enjoy dark and interesting things. However, it has spread out into every aspect of our lives. It undermines tradition, common sense, and basic hygiene. You could pierce anything you want these days. It could be infectious, but that's okay because it's cool. If life were a car, cool is the rust, and the left, root for the rust. Because cool is about denigration of work and mockery of effort. It creates popularity without achievement, because doing nothing is seen as cool. Being detached is cool. It creates presidents whose accomplishments rival that of a clown doing birthday balloons at a children's party. It creates a vacuous student body whose identity means more than industry. It is now not what you do, but who you do. It's better to open your legs than to open a business. Ugh. You know what? I tried that line out on Dana, and she said, don't use it. Sexual expression now replaces job skills on college. If you're not expressive, then you must be repressed. My motto is, I stay out of your bedroom and you just stay out of my way. And learn a trade or learn a job that isn't prefaced with hand. Seriously, people talk about a lack of jobs. There are millions of jobs available to young people, but they're not qualified for it because they're too busy majoring in gender studies. There's a lot of heavy machinery out there. There's a lot of welding. I don't even know what welding is. I was an English major. Where does cool invade and ruin lives? In entertainment, it elevates depravity to an art form. Shakespeare, if he had written Othello today, it would be called Iago, because cool dictates that darkness is better than light. We romance villainy. The end result, sadly, I think it crystallized it with the Boston Marathon bombing, in which the murderous bastard ends up on the cover of Rolling Stone. You have movies about cop killers, not the victim. You have movies about radical domestic terrorists, not about their victims. You have professors that have tenure who once were terrorists. This is romancing evil. This comes about because of the cool, which elevates depravity. The Boston bomber cover is the worst thing to me, because I always think about the Rolling Stone office. If they had been bombed, would they have put this young kid who looked like a reject from the Jonas Brothers on the cover? Because what if it had been their coworkers that had been blown to bits? They wouldn't. They would have, if they were Rolling Stone, they would have put the office on the cover. But because they were so far removed from the actual devastation, it was okay to romance this guy. And in almost all darkness, depravity is romance, because they don't have an intimate connection to it. It culminates in things like Johnny Depp, who purchases art from John Wayne Gacy. You know, suddenly a piece of art by a child killer is a conversation piece. That's where we are. The cool has hijacked elections. The last two were decided not by heroism, but by hypnosis. John McCain, was a POW, a war hero, respected senator. Mitt Romney was a charitable businessman, a governor, ran the Olympics. They both lost to a political Ferris Bueller. I'm convinced that if Ronald Reagan were alive and well today and ran, he would lose to Justin Bieber. And Reagan had better hair. And he was a better driver. Cool has poisoned our view of the military and foreign policy. Thanks to intolerance on campus, the military is demonized as evil. It's the last option when you're out of options. It's the last step before you're selling toenails on eBay. It's a representative of the exceptionalism of America, and therefore it's bad. Our foreign policy is being destroyed by a grad school mentality that American exceptionalism is a joke, and we are the root of evil on earth. And that has energized our retreat from dominance. That's why Obama prefers a soundstage to the world stage. Two ferns beats two fronts. Internally, the cool is tearing us apart by replacing patriotism with factionalism, by obliterating patriotism with division. Forget about being American. You're a transgender Native American little person with peanut allergies. There's another shout out to Dick Morris. Lastly, cool glorifies destruction through subversion of common sense. The irony, however, these folks believe they're rebels when they're the most predictable creatures. They look, they talk, they believe the same things. Oh, they've got a tattoo and a nose ring, and they're a barista at Starbucks. How daring. You're not in the military. You're not in a biker gang. Come on, you do not scare me when you give me your latte. Rebels used to speak truth to power, to challenge the government. Now, the rebels in Hollywood kiss Obama's butt. Actually, they don't kiss his bus. They climb in and build a gazebo. The hipsters do not understand that without boring people like us, the hipsters can't survive. Some people do have to build the roads and drive the trucks and run the businesses that they can make fun of. If there is no Hobby Lobby, then where is an activist going to go to scream? Like the businesses are purely created for them to yell at, but meanwhile, they create nothing. A pacifist survives, hopefully, because other people are willing to die for them. The cool is a three-headed monster: academia, media, progressive government. They traffic in the fervent anti-West mission to destroy you. Their perennial flaw, however, is they have nothing to replace it with. They're a petulant child who destroys sandcastles on the beach. I would say drown them, but we're in the midst of a drought. So, how do you beat this progressive death cult? You subvert the subverter, because they're all about subversion. Remember, the true rebel is the rebel who rebels against the rebel. So how do you do that? Well, first off, you reject the desire to be liked. Realize if you do not bend to them, you will not die alone being eaten by cats. Unless you're Bill Maher. Joyfully champion the pleasures derived from achievement. Remind people daily that life is a whole meant to be filled every day with work. Work is a great thing. Pleasure is great too, but pleasure should be a reward for work. And you have to remind that when you have kids, if you have kids, or if you like to hang around with kids. I like to volunteer. Not since the authorities told me to stop. Have fun. This is important for conservatives and libertarians. You got to have fun. You have to enjoy the battle. You have to laugh at your adversaries. If Breitbart were a verb, it would be strangle your enemies with silly string. Outrage. Outrage is nothing more than left-wing oxygen. Don't supply them with it. Wit, however, confuses them. It's like speaking Portuguese to a lizard. You need to channel your inner Reagan. You got to be the happy warrior. You got to find joy in your attack. And when you're faced with scorn, you respond with wit and facts. And I hate to say it, a little bit of love, because, you know, God bless them. They're so stupid. You got to reject moral masochism. Refuse to apologize for being sane or for working hard. If someone mocks you for what you do, come at them with a majestic so. That's what I learned from Breitbart. I always say so. It leaves them dumbfounded. You need to redefine cool. What is cool? Cool is having a code, which is common sense with no bullshit values. You got to be proud of a badass military. It's necessary for the preservation of our society. You need a rejection. You need a rejection of envy in favor of opportunity. You need absolute brutal honesty to be able to tell people that you like how you feel about them. You need not only to be right, but you need to be persuasively right. This is very important if you want to win elections, because it hits the key or the main problem that's going on in the Republican Party, which is divisiveness. You need to embrace the weird. I am weird. Really weird. Find new ways to say old things. It's not enough to whine about Obama. You got to say it in a funny way. You got to find a metaphor, a twisted metaphor. That's how I make my living. Back to my point about persuasive correctness. The most important thing you got to do is you got to unite. You must overcome the differences and win. You got to stop calling each other rhinos or traitors. You got to be like the Wonder Twins and unite. It's for you guys born in the 70s. The left wants us to cannibalize each other. They pray for agitation rather than cooperation. We need to stop chasing rabbits and go after the major attractions. We need to embrace the war by identifying the enemy with a smile on our face, taking no prisoners, and shooting the wounded. We need to stop electing professors. They have tenure, but our freedoms don't. All right. For the kids out here, there are a lot of them. Cool, this is the last part, then I'm done. The cool is a contagion that is spread through college through horrifying commencement speakers who give you the worst advice ever. So I came up with a list of my advice because nobody ever asks me to be a commencement speaker. They always tell you to follow your dream. Don't follow your dream. Get a job, the dream will find you. They tell you to take risks. Don't. If you break it, we end up paying for it. However, if you want to start a business, which is the riskiest thing in the world, you should. That's the riskiest thing. It's riskier than walking across the Grand Canyon in tights. See the world. Don't see the world. The world is overrated. Or, I have two options. See the world when you've earned it, or join the military, enlist. I can say that being 49. I will never be drafted. I have flat feet and a vestigial tail. Don't try to make the world a better place. They always say make the world a better place. Don't. Because that's code for ruin the world. You just interfere. Let people do what they want. You end up killing people. People say do something, they mean do something liberal, so don't do something. They'll tell you to express yourself. No, don't. It's boring. Spend 10 years, don't say anything. Just say nothing for 10 years. Talk less, listen more. People really like that. I think I'm done. Yeah, I might be done. Yeah. Try to time this thing to get this under. I went it really fast, and I might be done. Maybe there's something here that I could say. That's pretty lame. That's also. This is interesting. I like reading my handwriting when I'm driving. Ugly people can't be terrorists. I don't know what that means. I can end on a positive note. A story that's in my book. Has anybody read my book? Yeah? Well, I don't want to tell this story because it's kind of an interesting story, but I'm going to end on it. Because it has a lesson. When I was 21 or 22, maybe 21, I was working at the American Spectator, and I thought I knew everything. I wanted to be a screenwriter, and I was working in the mailroom for Bob Tyrrell. But I had these great ideas, and I thought I knew all. I just thought I had the world in my head, and I wanted to write movies. And my friend Rich's lawyer dad was the lawyer for an Oscar-winning producer who just won Best Picture, and he said, I can get you a meeting with this guy whose name rhymes with Arnold Copelson. And it was in 1988, and he got me this meeting. And so I flew to San Mateo, to the Hillsdale Mall. My dear mother bought me a suit for $99 at the Emporium. And I got on a plane and flew down to Los Angeles, and I was nervous. And I call it DN nervous, which is diarrhea nervous. You know what I mean. It always happens like before a deposition or when you got to do something. Be interesting if it was reversed, like before you have diarrhea, you do something really important. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? It'd be like a sign. I got to do something important. So anyway, I'm knocking on this door. It's in Beverly Hills or Bel Air or wherever. I don't really know. It's my first time in that rich area. And this little lady, a maid, opens the door, and she says, oh, yes, he's expecting you. And I walk into this beautiful house. She says he's in the bath, taking a bath, which is what you do in a bath. And I go, sure. So I walk, and I look to myself, and I see, out of the corner of my eye, a servant holding drinks. A butler, like a guy holding drinks, and I look away, and I go, ooh, that was weird. And so I sit down in this couch, and I'm just sitting there. going over in my head exactly what I'm going to say, I have this idea for a screenplay, which of course I haven't written. And there's a rule about writing. The more you talk about something, the less likely you will do it. Because the exercise in talking actually removes the pressure from you to actually do it. So I kept talking about this screenplay until I no longer had the energy to do it. But in my head at 22, I was like, this is going to be the greatest thing. But for some reason, I'm sitting there and he's going off into his big kitchen. And I couldn't stop thinking about this person that was behind me, just standing there. And he would be able to listen to everything I said. And I kept thinking to myself, he probably hates me because he knows I'm a fraud. He knows that, like, who is this guy? This guy just won Best Picture, and this guy walks in out of nowhere. He has nothing but a cheap Emporium suit. I came to Hollywood to become a stuntman, and I am serving drinks. I have a very strong imagination. I created an entire backstory for this person. His name was Herbert. Anyway, so I was thinking about him constantly, and it was driving me crazy. And so the producer comes down, he sits down, he says, Greg, blah, blah, makes some small talk. And I'm having a hell of a time trying to talk. I couldn't make sense at all because all I kept thinking about and being obsessed with was that person behind me. And Copelson could tell that I was a mess and kind of felt bad for me. And he said, do you want a beer? And to show you what era it was either a Lowenbrau or a Lowenbrau. Anyway, he got up and he left, and I sat there and I go, you know, the only way I'm going to be able to salvage this is if I actually get up and say hello to this person that's behind me, that's judging me, that is telling me that I'm a nobody and that I'm not cool and that I'm worthless. Because maybe if I make a connection with them, that will change. So I get up and I turn around, and it's a mannequin. It's one of these things. And it had a really weird face. Like, you know those shrunken apple head faces? This is a sign when you're really rich, when you buy things like that. It's either cocaine or it's like mannequin apple heads. Anyway, the point about this, and the thing that I learned, was that almost 99% of my worries are completely fabricated. And they're fabricated by what you worry of how people think about you. And the best way to get around that is just to assume that they're all mannequins. That's it.
Well, thank you, Greg. If there's anyone in the audience that has a question, if you raise your hand, we have staff with microphones in the aisles. And if I could just ask you to wait until you get the mic in your hand so we can hear you. We'll start right over here.
Hello.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
I have a question.
Sure.
If there was one thing you could tell Obama right now, what would it be?
I think I must do that every day. I tell him something, gee whiz. I think he should get out more. Seriously, there's a whole world out there. That's my issue, and it goes back to not cool, is we are turning inward as a country. We believe that we are not worthy enough to take charge of the world stage because we have to correct ourselves. Because inherently, with his history on the campus, he believes that America is basically at fault for everything, and that he was elected to fix the internal nature of America. And he didn't realize that we're the best thing going, and as we turn inward, everything out there just kept going. The world kept spinning as we jumped off the globe. So I'd like him to get out there and remind people that we're kind of an awesome country. Maybe.
Right here in the middle. Yeah.
Hi, Greg.
Hello.
I wanted to ask you, was there a pivotal event in your life that moved you from being a liberal to more right-leaning?
Yes, I think it was the first Love Bug movie. It was a talking car. It just blew my mind. Changed me. No, you know what it was? I was probably a liberal up until I got to Berkeley and being around the left and the craziness that was going on there, kind of an accumulation of screaming around you every day was like, what did I do wrong? I'm just going to the library with my backpack and I'm being yelled at because I'm a guy, I'm a white guy walking into class. And there would be stuff all the time where you're being yelled at. That was something, but the pivotal moment for me where I knew that I was a fraud was a high school debate. I think I was a junior, and it was on the nuclear freeze. Weapons of mutually assured destruction. So I was against nuclear weapons because I was a lefty, and they had this guy Jeff Philibert come against me to argue for MAD, and I was the popular kid in that class, and I didn't do any research. But I knew that all I had to say was that bombs kill people. Bombs are bad. Because they kill people, no more bombs. And that was my argument, and I didn't do any, and I knew that I was so well liked that it didn't matter. And so we had this debate, and I went up and I did that thing, and I made some jokes, and I knew that I was going to win. And then Jeff Philibert got up there and just ripped me to shreds with facts. And I sat there and I'm going, oh my God, I'm wrong. I'm so wrong. And I wonder if that ever does that ever happen in a debate where it's like there's an actual debate and the guy goes, you got a point there. This is really awkward for me. So what I did was, and I won't get into how I got out of this because we didn't have cell phones or anything back in 1982, but I was able to get a note to somebody to call the principal's office to call, because my father had been ill, to call and get me out of the debate. So there was somebody knocked on the door and somebody came in and goes, oh, and I go, oh my goodness, and that's a really sick thing to do. But I left, walked around the halls, talked to one of the guidance counselor about something, and then I still won the debate. Because nobody even bought Jeff Philibert because he had more acne than I did. It's true. Probably still does.
Right over here.
There's a lady with a hand. Two ladies with two hands. Oh, now she just outhanded you. Now she's talking.
Over here. Hand over here.
Speaking of your mother, how is your mother? We miss seeing her. Is she well? Is she?
She's 90, you know. She doesn't get, you know, if you get bad news, just getting news at 90 is good news. But she's had a tough month. But she's a tough lady. So, yeah, she's still moving around, unfortunately. We had to tell her she couldn't ride the Harley anymore. It's just wrong, especially at 3 a.m. with everybody sleeping and the wheelies. You don't need to do that, especially without a helmet.
Okay, over here.
Greg, again, thank you for visiting us here on the left coast. It's nice to see you. I have to, my observation would be that you look much taller on television.
Oh, well, thank you. It's because I'm generally sitting.
Yes. I'm
actually taller when I'm sitting.
It's
weird. It's a problem that I have.
I was just checking.
I think you're quite intolerant for pointing it out. You're a heightist.
That's what.
How does it feel to be heightist?
Here, is this better?
There you go.
I was wondering if it was possible if you and McGurk would go on tour with O'Reilly.
That would be fun, actually. But McGurk is too tall. McGurk is balding. He wears his glasses up here. And sometimes when I look at him, I think he has 4 eyes. But anyway, I love McGurk. He's great. Bill O'Reilly, he's great. Wonderful guy. Yes?
Back over here.
I turned 18 2 days ago, and I'm wondering, what do I have to do to co-host with you on one of your shows? My name is
I'm going to need you to fill out a medical waiver. You just check off the diseases you've had or not had. And if you can just give me a list of postcards with your home address, because I'll be mailing them out over a period of 6 months, just so your parents think you're still alive.
Over here.
Oh, I'm backpacking in London. No, you're not. You're in a storage container screaming like the rest. That's why we don't have interns at Red Eye. It's not my fault. I didn't ask for them. They just come. All right, where?
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Is it true that Bill Schultz resigned after you decided to fire Pinch?
We didn't fire Pinch. No, Bill is now at Maxim. He's now an editor at Maxim magazine. So there you go. Good for him. And I think he's finally fully grown that beard. It took him 17 years.
Greg, upstairs or up here.
Hello.
Hi, Greg.
How are you?
Two quick things. Comment. Most fathers would be really upset with you. I'm the father of the person you teased that fainted behind Bill Clinton 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And you had 2 nights of great humor on that.
Excellent. I don't know what to say except yay.
Yeah. She's now getting her master's in Missouri, and
in what?
She's still living it down.
Yeah. What's her master's in?
Business management.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So she'll get a job.
Okay, now for my.
Do you have a question, or are you going to tell me more about your daughter?
Yes, I do.
And are we going to work through your family tree?
I do. I do have another daughter.
Do you have any ailments I need to hear about? What do you drive?
Okay, we've been through Benghazi. We're going through the IRS thing. Now, what's it going to take to get this guy impeached?
You can't, but that's the thing. This is my point, though. This is my point. At Red Eye, we always make fun of that because you just, you can't keep yelling impeachment. You got to find a better way to have fun with it. It's not just yelling impeachment. Because you know what? You're not going to anger the other side when you do that, and you're not going to energize your side who feels that way. You have to come up with, in my opinion, a better way of dealing with that, and that is pointing out what's wrong and doing it with humor. But being angry and saying impeachment, the left does that to the right, and the right does it to the left, and frankly, they cancel each other out, I think. But I admire you not fainting.
Right over here to our right.
Yes, with all that's been going on in New York, are you maybe reconsidering your mayor run?
I should have ran. But you know what? I'm too lazy. That's the problem. Normal people don't run for office, right? I guess that's the problem. But de Blasio is crazy. And he's tall. I don't like tall. But, I mean, he started off with a bang, just offending and upsetting so many people and attacking basically charter schools, which hurt kids. It's incredible. I mean, he's done more harm to kids than measles. Maybe not. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe chicken pox. Maybe Barney. He's done more harm to kids than Barney. Sometimes you got to work on a joke. Normally you don't do it in public because that's weird, but that's how it works when you're an amateur like me.
Here in the back.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We, in our society, we want public servants to be both competent and experienced, whether it's a policeman, a fireman, members of the U.S. Armed Services, those people who protect us, take care of us. Why then are we okay as a society choosing a president who has absolutely no experience doing the job that we are hiring them to do? In other words, we want everyone to be an outsider from Washington, D.C.
Because he was cool. That's why. It was a historic vote when you had John McCain, who spent years in a prison camp. He was a war hero. Whether you liked his politics, he might not have been conservative enough for you, but he was enough for me. And I disagreed with him on a lot of stuff. This guy was a seasoned senator, outspoken, smart, funny, can handle himself on TV, but he wasn't cool enough. He was an old white man holding a rake on his lawn, screaming, "Get off of my lawn!" And then there's a young guy driving up going, hey, it's me, Obama. And everybody's like, I like that guy. And everybody wants to be a first. That's why the Republicans got to beat the Democrats next on firsts. I think perhaps running an elk. It would totally surprise everybody. I fear, but you know what? You made another interesting point, which is if you look at parts of the government, which are the military and the police, they're the most competent parts of the government, yet they're the ones that are targeted by the people who love government most. It's such a weird thing that we are scaling back the most efficient part of our system. And why is our military the most efficient part of our system? Because there's discipline, there's rules, there's punishment. None of that is there amongst our bureaucrats. They can do whatever they want. And frankly, we are selfish when we vote. We want our stuff too, so we vote for these guys to keep them in because they guarantee that you're going to have that base or you're going to have this or that. So we're part of the game too, apparently, I guess. What am I saying?
Greg, right up here, we're in the lights.
Yes.
Hello, Greg. I just had a quick question.
I told you to wait in the car.
I just wanted to know if there's a step stool behind the podium. Sorry. Had to throw in the short
Yeah.
there.
As a matter of fact, there is. It's your girlfriend.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen. Now, that might have been heterosexist, because I don't know if he has a girlfriend. I apologize. He might have had a boyfriend. That was on me, my fault.
Right over here to our left.
Ah, yes.
Greg, what a pleasure.
The pleasure is all yours.
It sure is. The show is called The Five, and I understand that it came from the average height of Dana and you.
Came from the what?
The average height of Dana and you. Is there any truth to that? She brings the average up.
He's asking. See, I can't even respond to that because mine is so much crueler.
I got you by that much.
Well, we'll talk about this in about 5 years, if you're still here.
Greg, one here in the back.
Greg,
yes.
Longtime fan, original gangster, 2007, first episode of Red Eye.
Excellent.
All right, what's up with Levy? Why has he got a main spot? Seriously.
What has he got a what?
A main spot.
A mean?
A main. Why not the halftime report anymore?
Oh, what happened to the halftime report?
Bill, come on, man, dude.
With the halftime report, this is an interesting thing. It's like Saturday Night Live's music segment. When there's something that breaks up a show, which, by the way, I came up with a halftime report. It's a great thing. However, people turn off when they see that, when it's over, because it's like a signal that says, I'm going to go to bed. That's what they do. I look at the numbers, sir. I know the numbers. Don't pull on your jacket. That makes you look like somebody from Entourage. And that's an insult. Anyway, you make changes in shows to make them better. The ratings go up. Sometimes they go down. They went up. Andy's doing great on the panel. I think he's a great addition. So is Joanne Osaczynski. I love her. She's great. Yeah. Anyway, anybody else?
Right here in the middle.
Where? Oh, there you go. Hello. Ah, very good. The Breitbart shirt from Gavin McInnes.
Yeah, Gavin was vlogging these.
Yeah.
Greg, where's the Woodward and Bernstein and the John Dean
when we need them most?
Well, the fact is, they are here, but they're not interested in the stories that would harm President Obama. By the way, there's some great reporters on the right. There are almost too many to mention, I think, right now. They are covering Benghazi and the IRS and the DOJ. But you know what happens? I call this Fox News syndrome. Whenever a story shows up on Fox News, the rest of the media goes, "Oh, that's a Fox News story," and it lets them off the hook.
Where's Deep Throat?
That's in my basement. Oh, you mean the source? I don't know.
Up top.
Overrated movie, by the way.
Hi, Greg.
Up top, Greg. Up top.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we had this chat.
Me too. So it's pretty clear that the left wants to use income inequality in the future as a potential talking point. Do you think there's any validity to that claim? And if so, what can the right do to counter it from a conservative perspective?
There's always going to be income inequality. And when you say that, you sound cold and heartless. So you have to respond with facts about income mobility and show that that's been pretty much the same for I don't know how many decades. People don't stay for very long in a certain income quintile. They move up. Sometimes you can make a lot of money, sometimes you don't. That's how it works. Nobody stays poor for very long. Nobody stays rich for very long. That's the beauty. It's constantly moving. So you need to explain it. However, this will be one of those rabbits that the Democrats will throw out there to get everybody to chase it in the media, but they don't have the facts behind it. There are rich people that are getting richer, but there are also other people getting poorer and richer at the same time as they get rich. Everything is moving around, And by the way, when the rich get richer, that often helps everybody else because they hire people, and that's a good thing, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Right over here.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
How you doing? Thanks for coming. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I hope you do hire the Andrea Tanteros lookalike over here. She's really cute. Love Red Eye.
Are you her father?
Yes.
Good. Good. Because if not, you've got a creepy stalker.
You don't know the habits.
But you know what? This is an interesting point about stalking. It's never stalking if you're young and good looking. Like no woman complains, "Oh my God, there's a hot guy bothering me." So I'm not saying, no critique on your looks. I'm just saying that we are a lookless society, and if you're not good looking, you're always called a stalker.
Okay.
But granted, there are stalkers.
So I'm just wondering.
Yes.
He's
cutting me off.
Yeah. So I don't see how Obama is that cool. I mean, really, you've seen him throw a baseball.
Yeah.
You've seen him ride his bike with his goofy helmet on.
Those aren't the metrics in an academic media government complex. Those aren't the metrics. The metrics are how to turn the idea of government into caring. It's all about caring and using government intrusion to take from people to give to others. And he is the coolest at that. He's been able to he is the Reagan of progressive politics.
Now, aren't there cool conservatives or libertarians that maybe have the looks of a Kevin Sorbo that can run and have the facts and have...
See, there's my point again. Oh, everybody's got to look like Kevin Sorbo.
Well,
The weird thing about Kevin Sorbo is when he was younger, he was hideous. Then he got into a car accident, and it just made him beautiful. What are the odds of that? Anyway, how many more questions do you have about Kevin's looks? What?
Isn't there someone who can run that can appeal to that middle that needs to take the elections our way?
I hope so. I'm not convinced I've seen that person. I'm willing to play the party of it's Sorbo. It is Sorbo. Yes, it's either Sorbo or Dean Cain. I just want to say that so they have to fight it out shirtless. It's either Dean Cain or Kevin Sorbo. What are you guys going to do about it? We're going to have a flex off on my lawn. Well, it's actually artificial grass in my bedroom. Yes, there are people out there, and we have to take a chance on some people. I am willing to play the game of historical firsts. A woman, a lesbian, a black woman lesbian. I'm for everything. An elk.
We got time for 2 more questions. We'll go one over here. We've got
Mr. Gutfeld, are you aware of the absence of American officials at Margaret Thatcher's funeral? And if so, how do you feel about it?
Well, I guess not great. How's that? Pardon me? Oh. I guess that wasn't a good thing. I think I wrote about that on the 5, but yeah, not a good thing.
Last question right here.
Yeah, in your book, great fan, by the way.
Thank you.
Your show. In your book, The Joy of Hate, you talk about the Muslim gay bar and how it pointed out the intolerance of the left.
Yeah.
Do you have any other plans in the work to point out that intolerance that actually is so prevalent amongst the left?
Yeah, I do. I've been very busy, but I keep thinking about what else can I do to I don't know. It's fun. Pranks are a great way to tell a truth. And the Muslim gay bar was a great way to point out the hypocrisy of the intolerance of an Islamic group that was opening a mosque next to the World Trade Center. And they said, you better respect our wishes. And I said, great, I'm opening a gay bar next door. And and you better respect my wishes as well. And of course, they were upset about it. I think that's the best way. That's one of the best ways to illustrate a point. Is through fun, mockery, but that there has to be truth to it. You can't just make fun of somebody. There has to be an element of truth or it's not worth it. That's the problem with liberal humor is most of the time it's just a joke, but there's no truth in it. But I'm working on some things. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a different kind of bar.
Well, we cannot say enough, and thanks to Greg for making it all the way out here.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for hanging in there.